Welcome, everyone. I'm EVON Davis, author, astrologer, and life transformation coach. And as promised, I'm back from my travels. I'm back in Colorado at home and really loving being home. You know how it is. It's always so fun to come home. So I also promised that I would get back on my regular Friday 4 p.m. schedule for my political astrology videos. So this is the first one since I've been back, and I intend to keep up with that schedule of at least one political astrology video that I will post every Friday at 5 p.m. I'm sorry, 4 p.m. Mountain Time. And if I can do more than that, I certainly will. I'm also going to be doing a lot of general astrology videos because of the fact that we are moving into this incredible alignment coming up in January 2020 that we have not seen in 500 years since the Reformation. And I did a video on that before, so if I can find it, I'll include it as a link above or at the end of this video. I'm also going to make some newer videos just because you can go back and look at that anytime. It's called the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. But I also think that it makes sense to do a new video and, bring in some fresh energy and fresh information now that we're so close. So, yes, we will be having lots of videos coming up because this is one of the most incredible alignments in history. Like I said, we haven't seen this in 500 years. And I also am totally blown away by the fact that the impeachment trial in the Senate, and of course I'm assuming that Congress will vote to impeach. They just had the vote for the Judiciary Committee on the articles of impeachment, and then it should be voted on by the entire House next week. So I also wanted to mention that I did make the prediction that the vote would come along with the full moon, this Sagittarius Gemini full moon we just had. And if I can find that video, I'll also include it as a link above. So I think I'm pretty much 100% on all of my predictions. I predicted all the way back in July that Donald Trump would be impeached. And that was even well before the whistleblowers complaint because that didn't come out until September. So, and then of course I predicted the vote on impeachment would come with the full moon, and that's happening as well. So, sometimes it kind of blows me away because I trust my intuition, I trust my readings of the chart, and yet even with the full moon, back when I made that prediction, which I think was back in September, so that was months earlier than this, and I said it would happen with the full moon in December. The vote would happen with the full moon in December. And in the news, they kept saying that, I mean, if you were reading the news back then, which I'm sure you were, they were predicting that the entire thing would be over well before Christmas. And it turned out my prediction was correct. So one other thing I want to say about this, and maybe I'll go ahead and pull up the chart as I talk about it, but real quick before I do that, I just want to remind you that I have appointments available for readings if you want a reading for 2020. You can email me at admin@yvonnedavis.com, and please only use that for serious requests or questions regarding readings, not for just general comments. Those are much better placed in the comments below this video. If you have any comments or questions that are not a serious request for a reading, just because, I am so busy, and it helps me to keep on top of client requests and following up on on the readings for people, because all the things I do related to YouTube are pretty much free. I mean, I get a tiny bit of ad income, but that does not make up for my time. So I need to prioritize the readings. So if you do want a reading, you can email me at admin@yvonnedavis.com, or you can go to the link on my website, which I will include in the description box below, and you can get you can order a reading. And I am going to offer another special for Christmas and New Year's. So, so if you've been looking to get my readings at a discount, I'm going to go ahead and offer it for Christmas and New Year's. Okay. So now that we've got that out of the way, I'll go ahead and bring up this chart. Well, I think first I want to say, you know, I had just done a Google to see about the vote, because I wanted to make sure I was giving the most up-to-date information as I am recording this video on the morning of Friday the 13th, 2019. And we just had the full moon. We just had the vote in the House Judiciary Committee. You can see that House Judiciary Committee votes to impeach. And then the vote will go to the full House sometime next week. You can see here it says the full House is expected to vote to impeach Trump next week, though Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has already said that even though it will be, there will be a trial in the Senate in January, it will be quick, and there is no way that Trump will be removed from office. That's what Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has said. So for him, it's a done deal. Now, I know we're going to have a lot of feelings about that coming up. And oh boy, I don't know what to say about that. Maybe we'll get some illumination when we look at the charts. But I do want to say before I go look at the chart that what's really come to the forefront of my mind around all of this that absolutely fascinates me as an astrologer is that when he made that phone call to the Ukrainian president, I believe the date was July 9th. But I do know for a fact that it occurred between the eclipses in July. So there was the new moon eclipse on July 2nd, 2019, and the full moon eclipse on July 16th, 2019. And the phone call with the Ukrainian president happened between those two eclipses. Now that's fascinating. And if I just take it for granted that you all understand why that is so mind-blowing, but if you don't, please put comments and questions in the comment boxes, because I really want to make sure that everyone understands why this is so mind-blowing. The fact that that call happened between the eclipses, because it embeds the energy of karma in that call. And I'm sure I could say tons more about that, but because I always take it for granted, you know, because I'm an astrologer, that, oh, y'all understand that. I don't need to tell you, but that may not be true. It may actually be perplexing to you why that matters. So anyway, I'm just stating as a fact, and that it has the energy of the karma embedded in it. In that very act, that phone call had the karmic energy of the eclipses embedded in it. And that now is playing out with the new moon eclipse, which is December 25th. Now, the vote is expected to happen, the vote in the entire House is expected to happen prior to that new moon eclipse. But it's close enough to the eclipse that I think it also will have, that vote itself will have the eclipse energy of the new moon eclipse that happens around midnight of December 25th to December 26th embedded in it. So I'll go ahead and pull that up now so you can actually see that chart. Okay, so this is Donald Trump's chart. his natal chart is on the inside, and the eclipse chart is on the outside. So you can see here, that's Donald Trump's birth date, time, and place. So that's the inner chart. He has a Gemini sun and a Leo ascendant. And this is the eclipse on the outside. It's the December new moon eclipse. And since he's on the East Coast, I'm assuming he will be on that day. It will be at midnight as we change from December 25th to December 26th. So this is how it lands on his chart. And for those of you who have been watching my videos for a long time or know a thing or two about astrology, all you have to do is look at this and, you know, your mind is blown. I know mine is. This is what I call the rack of doom. When we have this blue line that's called the quincunx on one side and the quincunx on the other side, and then we have these oppositions in the middle. It's called the rack of doom. And if any of you are Game of Thrones fans, you'll remember the flayed man. And that's when, you know, like it was a torture device. They strapped people to the rack of doom and they stretched them and they I guess flayed them. Sounds so horrific, but I mean, where did the idea come from? Probably from the Spanish Inquisition when they would torture people. So the rack of doom is not something pleasant, okay? And the new moon eclipse is part of that, and it's in his 6th house of work. So all this energy where astrologers are really focusing their attention, not just because the eclipses are taking place in Capricorn, but also because the Pluto-Saturn conjunction will occur at that time, okay? And I've been saying for a long time, it's right over his vertex. And the vertex rules fate, destiny, and karma. And Pluto is also extremely karmic, so is Saturn. So to have that conjunction happening right on his vertex is pretty intense. And then over here, it's opposite his natal Saturn and Venus in the 12th house of things hidden. The North Node and the midheaven are right over his Mercury, which rules communication, everything to do with communication. Being in his 12th house, and being square Neptune, the ruler of the 12th house, I keep saying that's why he's a pathological liar. He cannot tell the truth. He's pathologically incapable of telling the truth. And I think, personally, I think this is the karmic issue that it really comes down to. But it also comes down to issues around abuse of power. And, you know, I'm sure a lot of us are fearful about what's going to happen with the trial in the Senate. So let me just say that I think it's a given that the vote in the full House will pass the articles of impeachment, and Donald Trump will be officially impeached, okay? He will be the 4th president to have articles of impeachment voted against him. That's the equivalent of being indicted, but it's a political tool for removing a corrupt president. And it has happened 4 times in our history, first with Andrew Johnson, and then with Nixon, and then Clinton, and then now Donald Trump. And no president has actually been removed after trial. Even Nixon wasn't removed through a trial. He resigned first and was pardoned by Gerald Ford. So historically, you know, it's not, there's no precedent for actually removing a president. And I think that's important to consider, that literally no president in the entire history of our country, no president has ever been removed through impeachment. So even including Nixon. So, so we do have to look at those facts and take them into consideration. And I know that brings up a lot of fear for us Democrats who are really terrified of this man, and him being in office for another year. But I think it's better just to take it a day at a time at this point, because it's hard to know exactly what the alignments are going to bring, but there's definitely something karmic going on here. And I think that we have to trust. We have to trust the universe. We have to trust watching this karma unfold and try to understand the meaning of it, okay? Because something profoundly karmic is happening in this man's chart. And he is the President of the United States. And he represents that office. And so his chart is intimately tied with the karma of the nation. So we have to hold that and see how it can help us to expand our own consciousness, because a lot of people refuse to take any responsibility. I've had people post comments on my videos where they say, I'm not responsible for this. I happen to have a different attitude. I think that as United States citizens, we must take responsibility for what happens in our country, even though those people watching my video, most of you did not vote for Donald Trump, and have voted for Democrats, not just in the 2016 election, but also in the 2018 election, with the hope that something would be done about this corrupt man who is in the office of the presidency, who didn't even win the popular vote, and possibly won due to a corrupted election. So it's hard to imagine that nothing will come from this trial. Regardless, if he makes it all the way to the next election in November 2020, the events happening today will have an impact. So just keep that in mind, okay? This is still very karmic. It takes a long time for karma to unfold. There are events that happen at the timing of the eclipses, which is very important to pay attention to. But the karma itself takes a long time to unfold. It can take 6 months, a year and a half, 2 years, sometimes even longer for it to fully unfold. So don't assume that what's happening now is not going to impact us 6 months from now, a year from now, because it will. Okay. So let's go ahead and real quick also look at the January full moon eclipse on his chart. So as you can see, that rack of doom is still there. It's changed shape slightly. And I think the energy, it looks to me like the energy of the opposition has gotten even more intensely focused, like a laser beam. And now the full moon eclipse is exactly over his vertex at 20 degrees of Capricorn. So, and the north node is exactly over his Mercury. So something's happening here. And I think we have to trust the divine intelligence. Something karmic is unfolding here that doesn't just have to do with Donald Trump. It has to do with us as a nation. So it becomes our karma as well. And something really powerful and intense is coming. And I think we just have to trust. We have to trust divine intelligence. That there's meaning behind this that goes really, really deep. It's not just about whether or not he gets removed. There's something really, really deep going on here. And I don't fully understand what it is. But that's what, astrologers have been talking about for years now. You can go back and find videos on the Saturn-Pluto conjunction that go back years. I've certainly been looking at it for years, not necessarily on YouTube, but as an astrologer on my own, I've been looking at it and waiting all these years for these alignments to finally show up. And now we're just a month away. So hold on to your hat, folks. It's going to be a wild ride. That's all I can say at this point. It's going to be a wild ride. So I hope that was helpful. And like I said, I'm back on track with making at least one political video and posting it at 4 p.m. Mountain Time every Friday. If I can do more, I will. And I'm definitely going to be also doing a lot of general astrology videos because, as I said, this is the most profound alignment in 500 years. It coincides with Martin Luther nailing his theses to the church door, which is considered the event that catalyzed the Reformation. So this is a really big deal. And I could say a lot more about that, but I feel like it needs to be in a different video because, if these videos can get too long, then I think it's hard for people to watch it. They prefer to watch shorter videos that are more specific and focused. So that's what I'll do. So again, if you're interested in a reading, you can email me at admin@yvonnedavis.com. Please only use that email address for serious queries for readings, either questions or to set up an appointment, not for general comments. Those can be left in the comments below this video. And again, I'm going to work on a special for Christmas and New Year's. So I don't have that up on my website yet. If you want a reading right away, then just go to my website now. The link is below, and make an appointment at the current rate, which is $150. If you can't afford that and you're willing to wait a little bit longer because those slots are going to fill up fast, then you can hold out for the discounted rate. I haven't worked out all the details yet, so but once I do, I will definitely announce it on my YouTube channel. Okay, so that's it for now, and I will see you again next time.